we're back and we're looking at the second film from the fourth day of Toronto After Dark. It does not meet the 31 Days of Horror because it is not horror. So what are we talking about? Well, we are talking about In the Valley of Violence, a western, not a horror film. So this is a Ty West joint, though Ty West is mostly known for horror films. I mean, he's done, 3 or 4 up until this point. I think it was, I'm trying to think, 3 or, so there's The House of the, well, he'd done a few other, but The House of the Devil, Cabin Fever 2, The Innkeepers, and then The Sacrament. Those are so the 4 big ones. Then he's done stuff for VHS and the ABCs of Death, etc., etc. So yeah, this is his, breaking away from horror and going with, what he called the American staple of cinema, the American film, the Western. Now, the way it was described to us, it was described as a mysterious, essentially a man with no name going to a small town and meeting up with essentially violence. It's a Western, right? Now, the man with no name, the mysterious stranger, is played by Ethan Hawke. I'm not even going to go into what he's in because it's Ethan Hawke. Come on. And it was funny because they kept describing it as Ethan Hawke and a very evil bad guy played by John Travolta. John Travolta's in the film, but I would never classify him in this film as being the bad guy. He's actually just, he is the marshal of the town, but he's never really brought about as being the bad guy. He's just a marshal trying to keep law, and keep the town safe, essentially. I'm sure there are some nefarious things, but they never really go into them in the film. No, instead, the bad guy in this film is the marshal's son. When daddy's got power, you may tend to act out, think you are above the law, etc., especially considering you're also a deputy. So, that character is played by James, what was his last name? James Ransone. Ransone was his last name. And he isn't necessarily known for, horror or anything like that. I mean, he was in Sinister and Sinister 2 as the deputy. And he was in The Old Boy as Dr. Tom Melby. But for me, where I know him most from is from the television show The Wire. That's Ziggy, Chester Sabatka. That's where I know him mostly from. And he's done a whole bunch of other stuff, and he essentially plays the evil guy. And of course, he's got his friends who are also, deputies and stuff, and essentially like his henchmen. The other things of note in this film are this bad character is engaged to Karen Gillan. Yes, the great Amy Pond from Doctor Who. Hello, I'm Amy Pond. Yes, she's in there as a very talkative fiance, and I guess the owner and person who's running the local inn, and she's got a younger sister played by Thaisa Farmiga, who you should know. She was in I'm trying to think, The Final Girls, American Horror Story, The Bling Ring, if you watched that. But yeah, I'm trying to think. The American Horror Story was, I think she was in 2 different seasons. One of them being the Coven. So yeah, it's essentially, it plays out. Man comes to town without wanting to, ends up stirring up some bad things, bad feelings amongst the locals, and they take offense to it, and eventually violence comes about, and things go a little too far, and despite the marshal's instructions of leaving the guy alone, the son decides, nope, he wronged me, and I'm going to go do something about it. So he tries to kill this mysterious stranger, and unfortunately fails, and so the mysterious stranger comes back for vengeance. He wants revenge. Now, the one thing I didn't know about this film going in was it's a comedy. I had no clue. It was never described as a comedy through any of the introductions and all this kind of stuff, through anybody talking about it. It was described as a Western. But this is a comedy, pure and simple. One of the great characters in this film is a dog. Believe it or not, is a dog. It's the, Ethan Hawke's, the mysterious stranger's dog, which is, odd. But yeah, it's the character of Abby the dog, played by Jumpy. And oddly enough, they only had the one dog. Like, often they'll have multiple dogs playing in it. But they only had the one dog, and they used, I'm guessing, every single trick they could. It's almost like they, Ty West said, auditioned some dogs and was like, what kind of tricks can you do? What kind of tricks can you do? Etc. And saw all the tricks, and then kind of wrote little scenes around those tricks, because there are so many cute little things with, the dog barking or doing a trick or something like that related to what's going on. So he really is, for the first half of the movie, probably one of the best things about it. He's so cute, and it's so fun, and it's just one of those things, like every time Ethan Hawke talks to the dog, it's almost like that's the cue for the dog to do a trick, right? And then obviously you go in and it's just dialogue, weird, crazy stuff, and then violence, obviously, action stuff. Meanwhile, the entire time there's comedy going on and stuff. And most of the time, the best comedy comes out of John Travolta. He is one of the funniest things in this film. Because he is he's the marshal. He's trying to defuse the situation. Meanwhile, he's got this guy going around killing him who's vowed to kill his son. He's just like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? I realize my son has wronged you, but I can't. I'm the marshal. I can't let you kill him. As his father. But at the same time, he tried to kill you, so I should do something. And it's just the dialogues between them and just all the characters in general. Are what makes the film funny. It's not so much there's slapstick or anything like that, or weird circumstances so much. It's mostly the dialogue and the essentially the communication between characters that really makes this film funnier than you would think. There are a couple of things that I did take a little. I wouldn't. They weren't as good as the music is good. Like, the music really harks back to classic spaghetti western. I just didn't find that it actually fit with what I was watching on screen, which I kind of sucked. I really wanted it to be like, I loved listening to it, but I didn't love listening to it with the visuals I was seeing. So that I wasn't too keen on, though it would be something I'd love to get the soundtrack to. If that makes it, there's a few movies, and some people love the soundtracks to them, but I didn't like them in the movies. This is one of those. The other thing about it is Ethan Hawke's character. At first, he comes across as kind of a, the tough guy, right? Like he's a stranger. He's one to be, one not to be messed with, right? And then he sort of turns into, a weaker character, and you start getting some backstory on him, and you're like, okay, that's not the impression I got for his character right off the bat. Okay, whatever. Maybe there's a ruse going, but no. Then he gets even worse, and there's this scene where he's like crying and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just like, this is not how I pictured this character right off the bat. This is not the impression I got from him. Now, I get why in certain scenes it runs that way, but I don't think his character was like... It didn't seem like there was a... It was well-defined as and consistent throughout the film. It seemed to sort of jump around from what kind of a character he is. You know, at moments he seems like he's a really experienced gunfighter, and other times you're just like, well, he doesn't seem very experienced. And, you know, sometimes he seems like a tough guy, and then other times he doesn't seem like a tough guy. And it's, yeah, I just wasn't really buying into his performance of the character, but at the same time, he is performing well to the scenes that he is being given, if that makes any sense. And obviously Ty West, that's what, you know, he's directing the scenes. This is what he's looking for. So yeah, it's really, really weird. I can't say that Ethan Hawke did a bad performance necessarily. He did a good performance based off of the material he was given and the direction he was supposed to go in. But at the same time, when you look at it as a whole, his character seems blah, 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 blah. It seems all over the place, right? So that was a little bad. Karen Gillan is at first I thought, okay, she seems really out of place because it hadn't really gotten over the top comedic yet, and then she came in. I was like, okay, I'm not really seeing her fit in this, you know, Western universe. She's, you know, I'm still picturing Doctor Who Karen Gillan, and you know, she's acting very, very, you know, that way. But as it went along and you got more of her in it, it definitely worked. Her character came through and her personality came through. And so I was okay with that. Like I said, John Travolta was probably my favorite thing out of this movie. He nails the character like perfectly, and it is consistent. It is very, very consistent. Really, really like it. James Ransone, I did not like. I did not like him as the bad guy. It just, I wasn't feeling him. I just wasn't feeling him. That's not to say he was bad. He just, I don't know. I wasn't feeling him or his character. Yeah, he, I don't know. He was annoying at times, which I get. He was supposed to be playing the spoiled brat type thing. But, yeah, in general, I just wasn't, he wasn't my favorite, that's for sure. And the only other thing I really, and this is, you know, not to fault the film and the makers of the film, but it's a budget thing, and you don't have enough time to really work with it. Everything seems too clean, right? Now, they did a pretty good job, more so than you would get with, you know, the made-for-TV, a lot of the made-for-TV stuff, and a lot of the really low-budget Westerns, where, you know, like, they've just made the costume, and you're looking at it, you're like, that looks like it was just bought off a store shelf. Like, come on, man. There's no way this person has been out in the Wild West for any length of time wearing that. And even if it was, you know, brand new then, it wouldn't look that good. So, and that's one of the things that's a problem with a lot of period pieces, is you gotta make it fit the period. It's gotta look like, I mean, they didn't have washing machines, they didn't take showers and shaves all the time, so, you know, people can't look like they're clean shaven all the time. It just doesn't work. It's like when you see a person, it's like, oh, when was the last time you took a bath? It's like, oh, that was a month ago. Well, they gotta look like they haven't taken a bath for a month, and they've been out in the desert and in the dry and the, you know, whatever, riding the horses and stuff like that. They can't come in there all prim and proper and all clean shaven. It just doesn't work, right? So, I mean, they did a decent job here. You know, lots of facial hair going on, lots of 5 o'clock shadow, and you know, things are dirty, but you know, it wasn't quite up to the level it should have been, but it was only minor. Like, I mean, it was dirty enough that it worked, but it could have been better. That's all I'm saying. It could have been better. But yeah, no fault to them. It usually is a matter of, you know what, budget, time, just can't, you know, get it to the level that you need, and make it work in general. In the Valley of Violence is something I would probably give about a 3 out of 5 to. I wasn't expecting the comedy, so that kind of came out of nowhere. And because I didn't know what to expect going in, I think the first portion of the film, I wasn't feeling it. and it took a little while for me to understand where I was going with it, where it was going, what my journey was going to be with it. And so yeah, I wasn't quite there yet. It's not over the top funny either. It's just consistently funny throughout. And I mean, it is a small cast, small little town, so there isn't a lot going on. And don't expect some major action shootout, OK Corral type thing going on. It's not quite like that, but yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable for what it was. It's not something I would I'd necessarily pay to go see in a theater. Would I own it? I probably would, because I'm a big Ty West fan, so I would probably add it to my Ty West collection. But if it wasn't Ty West and it was just somebody else, I'd probably that would be it. I'd watch it once, and that would be probably all I would do, until the point it gets to where I'm starting to collect westerns and stuff, which with all the other stuff I'm collecting is not likely to be anytime soon. For fans of westerns, I don't think this is going to be your favorite western. I don't think it's going to be even close to that, but I think you will get some enjoyment out of it, and you should definitely check it out. Again, remember that it is a comedy. It's supposed to be lighthearted and fun, so keep that in mind when you go into it, and I think you'll probably enjoy it a little bit more than I did. Yeah, definitely unexpected, fun, and I like I said, John Travolta, you know what, he's one of those guys where when you stick him into some comedic moments and stuff, he just has the way it's John Travolta delivering stuff, it works, it just works. So yeah, there you go. In a Valley of Violence from Ty West, the comedy western. Yeah, it's funny because I mean, even if you go to IMDb, it's just listed as a western. It's not listed as a comedy. It is a comedy, people. It is so a comedy. It's not just a western with comedic moments. No, it is a comedy. So yeah, there you go. Anyways, thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.